growing up in the South, we never had winter weather days. All right, so at the beginning of the school year, we would have days blocked off that were hurricane days. If we had a hurricane, then those were the dates blocked off for hurricane. If not, if we didn't miss any school for hurricane, then we got a fall break, and we got Mardi Gras off. Like everybody would get Monday and then Fat Tuesday off. We go back to school Ash Wednesday. So we had Fair Day. And when the county fair came to town, we had the last Friday off. So me and all my hoodlum friends loaded up and we went down to the fair at the fairgrounds in Pascagoula and stopped at McDonald's and got something to eat and whatever. And the first ride we went on was something called the High Roller. And it was a small ride and it just went upside down, kind of like this, and spun at the same time. So you're going, not real fast, it spun fast, but it didn't move fast. So we rode it, it was great, and then we rode the Gravitron. All right, well, about that time, my little girlfriend showed up, her and her sister, and we lined up to get on the Ferris wheel, and I vomited on the Ferris wheel.
On the Ferris wheel.
On the Ferris wheel, of all places.
That's one thing they don't have around. Well, they have Ferris wheels, but no, they don't have.
I was about to say, dude, there's.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But they don't have little fairs like that, like I was used to. Growing up in Ohio, Pennsylvania, we had a different fair almost every weekend because I had an amusement company. And I did the rides. I owned the rides. And so I went, and we would set up at all these things. But here they don't really have it. And you, every year of high school, so for like 8 years for you.
Yes, 12.
You got to go to it, and we had like a Crawdad festival. We had like the Italian festival. We had tons of Rib Fest.
Yes.
Why don't they have that stuff?
And see, they tried at one point. They tried to have Mardi Gras in Branson, but they did it in like September. Well, Mardi Gras is at the beginning of the year, it all kind of hinges on when Easter is really as far as when Mardi Gras is. So they tried that and they did a little parade and whatnot, and the thing is it just loses traction. It's like people are all about, we'll do it, and then they do it one year. It's like, oh, well, that was fun, that was nice.
Do you think it's because we have all these different shows? We have the rides all the time?
I think a lot of it has to do because we only have the county fair, which is in August or September out in Forsyth. All right, so where Celebration City is, before it was Celebration City, it was called Mutton Hollow. All right, and Mutton Hollow was like a fair. They had those sketchy old rides, like they had the pirate ship and all those sketchy old rides, and that's what it felt like. It was more like the Grand Exposition area in Silver Dollar City. Imagine it cheaper, dirtier, and more dangerous, and that was Mutton Hollow. Nothing against Mutton. I mean, it's not there anymore, but I had fun. That's one of the few places where you could go and ride a ride and listen to Rush.
Some Journey.
Dude. See, you had to ruin a perfectly good interview here by mentioning Journey.
Well, when Celebration City was there, which, by the way, I really liked it.
I did too.
My daughter and I used to go like several times a week and just hang out. But I always said they should rebrand it and make it a street fair, like Mayberry Street. I said make it a 4th of July.
Yeah.
And you could have had Andy and you had, what's his name, doing Barney
there.
Yeah. Terry doing Barney. But they could have just made it the 4th of July every day. And at the end, you'd have the fireworks and make it a street fair. Because I worked at a place in Disney, downtown Disney, called the Explorers Club. And it was 1929, and it was New Year's Eve every day. And so you would go and you would do the Explorers Club, and everybody would be getting together, telling stories, all these actors, and you were in the middle of it.
Right.
And then at the end of the night, everybody went outside and they had fireworks because it was New Year's 1930. And it was awesome.
See,
that was, if we had that, because you got everything. You got Mayberry, you got the 4th of July, you got a street fair. And I said, treat it like a street fair. Just sell tickets for the rides.
Right. What are the 3 F's here in town? Faith, flag, and family. You got them all.
Yeah.
You would have them all.
That would be great.
See, I agree. And you know what really...
Let's buy it.
What was...
How much could it be?
Well, you
got that newspaper money.
Tell you what, I know I'm rolling in it, son. Maybe I could get me a paper route to add on to
People
it.
still read those?
Yes, they do. Hey, you'd be surprised, I'm surprised every week. The thing about...
So are they when they read it?
They're like, oh, really? Mr. Clark's still writing for that paper, is he? The thing about Celebration City is, like, it was... Before the Hershans bought it was owned by someone else, a different company. And when the Hershans bought it, HFE bought it, they didn't want to compete directly with Silver Dollar City, so they only opened it in the afternoon. Silver Dollar City closed at 5 or 6, whatever. They would open Celebration City at 3, 2 or 3, whatever. And you know, it's kind of like, okay, would I rather stay in town and do something else and then go to the park for a little while, or I'd rather go to Silver Dollar City? I like Celebration City because there weren't as many people packed into it like there was at Silver Dollar
just
City.
Simpler.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
It was a nice, easy place to go in town. Since they've closed it every year without fail, at the end of the year, I always ask someone out at HFE, you got any plans for it? What are you going to do? And a couple years ago, I asked Lisa Rao. I said, Miss Lisa, is there going to be like, how about an aquarium? She's like, well, that's one of the ideas that we're floating around. I'm like, ooh, floating around. She's like, no. She's like, people would think. She's like, please don't print that. She's like, because people would actually think. She's like, it just sort of came out naturally and it just came out honestly. But you know, the last time I talked to her was about this time last year, and she's like, there's no active plan on the draw board right now.
It's too sad.
It is.
Because we used to go, because I used to do the noon show. We were done by 3. We'd go and hang out at Whitewater, which we loved, and then we'd head over to Celebration and eat and watch we watched that evening show so many times. And Silver Dollar City was great because we would take, when I had a day off, we'd go spend the whole day there. Love Silver Dollar.
Love Silver Dollar. It's great.
But it was a whole different thing.
Yes, it is.
The Celebration didn't have the shows and everything.
Right.
I just wish it was over. That's one of the things we miss in Branson.
We do. We miss it.
So I did these segments. So let me think real quick. I did segments on 5 things that are new in Branson.
Okay.
Then I did a segment on 5 things we miss in Branson.
Oh, okay.
Celebration was one.
Okay.
Tijuana Willie's was the
Okay.
other. Remember the Mexican place? What were some of the other ones?
Were you here when Waltzing Waters was here?
No. The Cirque show was one thing I missed.
Okay, yeah, which I can't believe that they didn't. All right, so the Cirque Montage show that used to be at Starlight.
That one, but there was one at the Remington. It's called Cirque.
There was another one at King's Castle, and it was called Cirque.
Fantastic. No.
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah. It's they have one in Myrtle Beach.
Fantastique?
Is that it?
I don't remember.
It was one of those, but they had the motorcycles in the death cage, and they had the swinging pendulum thing.
Stuff.
It was awesome, man. It was, and they did a limited run and never brought it back.
Oh, I wonder why.
I don't know.
Because that Cirque show, I miss it from the Remington. I went and saw it over and over again. It was obviously a copy of the Cirque du Soleil, obviously, but what things aren't copies around here?
Exactly.
And so we would go all the time and watch this. And then when the one opened up at Starlight, we'd go see it because we had friends in there that were in the show. Maria was in there with her dad. But now we don't really have anything that's a Cirque type.
No, there's not very many big spectacle type shows like in the theaters in town. A couple of magic shows like Rick Thomas. You know, Rick does a good show.
I love Rick's show.
The Hamner, you know. Once Rick and Taylor and Reza came back, you know, I talked to Dave Hamner, who I love me some Dave Hamner. And he said, well, what do you think about the new magic shows opening up? And I was like, well, I think it's cool, you know, as long as they're all different. Yes, they're magic shows, but all these guys have different personalities, different shows and all that. I'm like, but Dave, you don't have anything to worry about because yours is a variety show.
Right.
Like,
that's the key to it.
It really is. And seeing what Dave and Denise have done with that show, I love it, man. Because it's old school. It really is a lot of fun. It's just a fun show.
It is. And I always tell Dave that, and I want to interview him so bad because his was the first show I ever saw in town.
Really?
Yeah, it was. And I loved it the first time I saw when Jim was in the show. And Rick's show kind of feels like a variety show to me because he does a lot of different styles.
Well, with the quick change and with Rick's a ballroom dancer. So, you know, he's got to add some of that.
The aerial dancing thing.
So awesome, man. So, and you know, Rick, there again, I'm kind of a tall dude. Rick
I interviewed him. He was one of the nicest guys I ever talked to.
He is really cool. And Rick gets emotional when he talks about his show, when he talks about his love for what he does. And it's not very often that you see entertainers get emotional and it not be genuine. Like, you know, it's easy for some folks to whip up some tears and we're doing it for the kids. And no, Rick, like, you can tell that he really digs what he's doing.
But I love those kind of Cirque kind of. My show this year, I tried to do like a Cirque feel to my regular show. But Silver Dollar City next year is going to have the Festival of Wonder. Have you seen that? And that's very similar to that sort of thing because they're bringing in a really cool guy that plays the world harp.
Right.
World harp, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's huge, and I've seen video of it. Then they have like different acrobatic acts and stuff like that. I think it'll very much feel like that.
And you know, they're going to have to up their game for this if they're going to replace WorldFest, because so many folks, I mean, that's what kicked it off. Like, you know, Silver City, they open in the spring for their spring ride days and all that stuff, just open on weekends. Folks can come out to the park. Well, then when they kick off WorldFest, that was the beginning of the season, and that was perfect for schools to bring kids for field trips. It was educational and stuff like that. But just like a couple of years ago, they did away with Kids Fest during the summertime and changed it to the Star Spangled Summer. They didn't miss a beat. They kept their popular acts. They brought in some different things. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, we got to have faith. We were talking about Disney earlier. You know, you got to have faith that, okay, that this will be.
Yeah, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Brad's created that.
Oh, dude, I love Brad.
Another
guy that really, you can tell he loves what he's doing.
Brad's like a mentor to me. Like, he really is, because I started with the company and I've watched it for 10 years. And I've talked with him enough to know how he started in merchandising, and look at him now.
Yeah, and that's Brad
I really
Thomas.
look up to him. Yeah, Brad Thomas, and I really look up to him. And I always want to talk with him. Like, I just find him so interesting.
Yeah.
And I probably bug him too much because I always want his opinion on things. But I respect his opinion because he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
He gets around and he goes to other parks and he looks at the research and he listens to the people. And I keep to myself all the time. And so when I'm asking people their opinions and stuff, it's probably just me. I'm always like, I feel like I'm bugging them way too much. So I try not to, but every once in a while I'm like, what do you think of, this new thing? But yeah, he knows what he's doing, so I think it's going to be amazing.